On July 14, 1858, in Manchester, England, Emmeline Pankhurst was born. She was a pillar in the women's rights movement in the late 19th century. Her decades of advocacy for suffrage achieved many feats on behalf of women everywhere. Emmeline was born to parents Sophia and Robert, who were both civil rights activists. Her father worked on anti-slavery campaigns, and her mother was passionate about women's rights, and often brought young Emmeline with her to hear suffragette speakers like Lydia Becker. In 1879, Emmeline married Richard Pankhurst, who wrote Britain's first women's suffrage bill, and together they had 3 daughters and 2 sons. Shortly after her husband's unfortunate death, Emmeline was inspired to form the Women's Franchise League in 1888. Through this organization, she was able to advocate for women's rights in divorce and inheritances, as well as earn the right for married women to vote in smaller elections. Following her work in the WFL, Emmeline Pankhurst began to be respected as the leader of England's suffragette movement. She then founded the Women's Social and Political Union in 1903, where they preached their motto, "Deeds, not words." This organization planned protests, spread ideas through its published newspapers, and brought together supporters across the country for their cause. Years and years later, with not much results, the WSPU protests became less peaceful and more militant. Organizing window smashing, arson, and vandalism tactics for women's suffrage landed Emmeline incarcerated on multiple occasions. Even all 3 of her daughters ended up in jail at some point because of their membership in the WSPU, like her daughter pictured here beside her, Christabel. This began the famous hunger strikes, which highlighted the police brutality when images of policemen force-feeding the women were seen by the public. During the First World War, Emmeline decided to put a pause on any protest and put all her time towards the war effort. She traveled across England and across the world and delivered speeches in support of the war, condemning fascist Germany. She was also able to strike a deal with the British government to release any WSPU women from prison. Following the end of the war, Emmeline quickly resumed her fight for women's right to vote. The WSPU was able to achieve the Representation of the People Act of 1918, which gave women over 30 the right to vote under certain criteria. Then finally, in 1928, the year Emmeline passed away, the Equal Franchise Act of 1928 gave all women their suffrage. Emmeline received a lot of backlash because of her not-so-peaceful ways of protest, but they got the job done and gave women the right we have to this day. Her impact is immeasurable. To finish on a quote, "We are here not because we are lawbreakers. We are here in our efforts to become lawmakers." Emmeline Pankhurst.